You can see a like a.
What's up, guys? Subscribe to my channel. Mirror Millie. Where am I? Subscribe to my channel, Mirror Millie. Make deadlock videos. Alright, yeah. Go ahead, Jeana, do your thing. I'm bad, Jeana. I had to.
I'm putting that in my video.
Please do.
Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm giving you beginners out there a tutorial on how to get perfectly blended eyeshadow. I'm going to show you guys the products that I use and the brushes that I use and just different techniques to last you all night. So for those of you who are into doing your eyeshadow and love makeup and either love a dramatic eye or love, you know, that smoky eye and just can't find ways to like get it to blend or don't know what you're doing wrong, keep watching this video and you'll see what I do. So in order to get your eyeshadow to stay all day, all night without creasing is you need to use an eyeshadow primer. Some people use concealer, some people use their foundation and just put it right on top of their eye. I think that using a primer that is meant for eyeshadow and meant for your eyelids works best. I have never had a problem with using eyeshadow primer. I've had problems not using eyeshadow primer, but ever since I invested in eyeshadow primers, my shadow has stayed in place all day, all night, no creases. So I highly recommend investing in a primer. So an easy primer to use is the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. I use the shade Eden. It's just like a super neutral primer that goes pretty much with like any skin tone or any lighter skin tone. And this does have like a little applicator stick. So what I do is I just place a little bit of this on each eyelid. And in order to blend this all over, you can either use your finger or I use the ColourPop E7 blending brush. And I just smooth this over the entire lid. As most of you know, I do conceal my brow with concealer underneath, so I already have that on. So I'm just buffing this primer right into that concealer. And you just want to get this nice and smooth all over the lid. For eyeshadow, I'm going in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. I love this palette because there are shimmers and there are plenty of mattes to work with. I prefer mattes. Whether you are a pro, MUA, or a beginner, this palette is great for anyone. I love this. Now for me, I pretty much only use like 1 to 3 makeup brushes when I do my eyeshadow. My favorite brush of all time is the MAC 217 blending brush. It's a little bit coarser. When you have shadows that are highly pigmented on your eye, this gets them all over the lid. Because sometimes when they're highly pigmented and you're putting them on top of primer, they just kind of like get stuck in one spot and you can't move it. Because the hairs are a little bit coarser on this, they move all over the place. Now, if you're someone with a larger eyelid to work with, like from your lashes to like under your brow bone, I would say that getting a larger buffing brush is better for you. If you're someone who has like a tiny hooded almond shaped eye, then I think that you should use a tinier brush. That way you're not blending shadows like all over your face, or if you're working with like multiple shades, you're not blending them all together with a big brush. So bigger eyelids, stick with a bigger brush. Smaller eyelids, work with a smaller brush. Now I would say that the 217 MAC brush is more of like a medium size, so I think that it works better for me. Now whenever you're applying shadow, you always want to start with the transition color. So this is going to transition everything from your brow bone into like your eyelid, whether it's a dramatic lid or a shimmery lid. But this is going to let everything fade and give your eye like a smooth transition. So I'm going to go in with the Raw Sienna shade, which is like a medium brown. Now if you already have all your face makeup done, make sure that you tap your brush off a lot to get all that pigment off. I like to place that transition color right in my crease and work that up. You don't want to bring it all the way to your brow bone because you want your brow bone where you've concealed to stand out a little bit. Now you can either use like a windshield wiper motion and just go back and forth, or you can do little circles and buff that up. Now for this lighter transition color, you can kind of move it all over the place. You can even get it like a little bit closer to your nose if you want. And it's okay that it's in your crease because you are going to go back and put darker colors in your crease. Another tip is that you don't want to press like too hard on your eyelid, because if you do, you're really not going to move that shadow anywhere. Just go really, really lightly and you're going to be able to see that shadow moving all over. And this is that same transition color that I'm working with. You want to work with a buildable shadow. That way, if you have to make it darker, you can. And you always want to start light. So that is my transition color. My crease starts off a little bit darker and then it transitions into that eyebrow, into that brow bone. Or I guess I should say that my brow bone transitions into that darker crease color. Now, if you're working with the same brush for all of your shadow colors, you do want to keep a paper towel handy. So I just keep it like right on the desk that I'm working at. And then when I'm switching colors, I can just like wipe the brush off on the paper towel. So I am wiping my brush off on my paper towel. I'm just doing it lightly and I'm just like kind of grabbing that color out of there. So now I'm back to a semi-clean brush. So for our second color, I'm going in with this Realgar color. I do not know how to pronounce anything that I use, if you haven't noticed. So I'm going in with this Realgar shade, and it is a little bit darker than the first color that I used. So I started with the raw sienna, and now I'm going in with this shade. And again, I am using the same brush. So you want to tap off all that extra color. Because the Anastasia Beverly Hills shadows are so pigmented, if I do not tap this off, I'm literally going to have shadow all over my face, and I've already done my face makeup, so I don't want to mess that up. So again, right in the crease, I like to start on the outer part of the crease, and then I'm just going to lightly buff that in. Now, when I started with the raw sienna, I moved that pretty close to my brow. This I'm not going to bring up that much. I also don't want to bring it too close to my nose, because when you have your darker colors too close to your nose, it starts to close your eye off. So you do want to keep your darker shades to the outer part of your eye and the lighter shades more towards the inside of your eye. And that's going to give you an open eye appearance. If you feel like your colors have blended too much together, I'll actually go back in with my first transition color and just buff over that second color that I used. So I wiped off my brush on my paper towel, and I'm taking again that raw sienna color, and I'm just going to place that above that second color and work that back in up towards my brow. Alright, so you can already see this eye that I'm working with looks a little bit more blended, where this one I feel like I've lost that blend. So see how like smoothly blended this is, and this over here is like a little bit more like just that. It just looks like the eyeshadow is just placed there. You could also take a clean brush and just go over that line if you feel like you do have too much of a harsh line there. So now I'm going to go in with a third color, and I'm going to make my eyelids stand out a little bit more. So I like to go in with a smaller brush. I'm actually using another 217 brush that I've had forever, but because I like use the crap out of it and I've washed it 100 times, it just looks a little bit smaller than my newer one. So I'm going to go in with a smaller looking 217 brush, and I'm going to take this shade Cypress Umber. Cypress Umber. Alright, so we're going to take that shade, and I'm lightly, oh my god, lightly tapping it into that color and like seriously getting rid of the excess pigment. And that is going directly in my crease. And for this, I like to use circular motions. And this shade is really staying on the outer corner. So you can already see, that just makes my eyelid pop a little bit more. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And if you feel like you have too harsh of a line, you can go back in with your transition color, go back in with a larger brush, and just buff that line out of there. And like I said, sometimes I do take a clean brush and I'll just go over all the shadow with a clean brush and kind of smooth everything together. So for any shadows that you use at the crease and above, you always want to stick with matte shades. Matte shades are going to make everything stand out more, they photograph better, and they give you more of that dramatic appearance. Shimmer colors will move, so if you put a shimmer color in your crease, it will move up. And shimmer like in your crease and like under the brow bone just don't photograph well at all. So we want to keep shimmer colors only on the eyelid. So for your eyelid shadow, you do want to go in with a flat brush. So this is completely flat. I think this is from one of the Naked palettes. I think. So you do want to go in the flat brush, and that'll just help you like pack any color down. Another little tip for your eyelid color is using any type of setting spray. So I'm going to go in with the Fix Plus by MAC, and I am going to spray lightly my brush with that. If you have a setting spray or like a prepping spray, you can spray your brush with that too. You don't have to do this, but it does help get a little bit more pigment onto your brush and onto your lid. And now I'm going to go in with the Primavera shimmer shade, and this I'm just smoothing right over that lid. You don't want to work this up past your eyelid because shimmer shades do move all over. So if you work this up any higher, you'll notice that throughout the day when you're blinking, when you're looking down and looking back up, that shimmer color will probably get like all over those matte shades. And to make the inner corners of your eye look a little bit brighter, I'm going to go in with this tempera shade. So this is just like a light whiter shade. And I'm going to go right at my tear duct with that. And that's just going to make that inner corner look a little bit brighter. So like I said, you do want to keep all your lighter colors on the inside and all your darker colors on the outside. To finish this look off, you can add eyeliner and mascara. Alright guys, so that was my tutorial on shadow blending for beginners. To recap some things, we did talk about what brushes to use, what sizes to use that's best for you, a little bit of techniques, matte versus shimmer, and primer for your shadow. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below.